Yeah, I mean, some of the examples from this indictment are very stark. In it, that from 2006 to 2008, Maduro allegedly sold diplomatic passports to drug traffickers, and that he needed to move drug money from Mexico. And when they needed to do that, they would call the Venezuelan embassy and say that the diplomatic mission was coming. I mean, these are very alarming charges that prosecutors have laid out in a superseding indictment. And I say that because this first indictment happened in 2020. What we know is that in 2007, according to prosecutors, they say his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to set up a meeting between a drug trafficker and Venezuela's anti-drug office director. The trafficker then paid monthly bribes, which amounted to about $100,000 per flight. These are very serious charges. They face the possibility of life in prison in Supermax, and it is what is behind that raid that happened this weekend. The security at the courthouse, you cannot overstate. We are talking about 2 levels of security between us and protesters and between us and the courthouse. They brought him into this courthouse in a Bearcat, a big armored vehicle, and they brought him here by helicopter. This is very serious today, and there's a high stakes here as well.
So, Myles, just to be clear here, these are state of New York charges, not federal charges. How does that break down?
No, these are federal charges.
Federal charges.
They've been charged in federal court with running a federal drug conspiracy here. And, you know, what's most important here is who is involved in it. It's not just Maduro and his wife, but also his son, who's been nicknamed the Prince. In these charges, we learned that his son flew to Margarita Island twice a month on a state oil company plane, and before he left, loaded packages wrapped in tape. Those packages believed to have drugs on them. Federal prosecutors said the son was there watching as all of those drugs were loaded onto the plane. I mean, this is like out of like the show Narcos on Netflix.
Myles Miller, the rugby player from Pennsylvania, Jay Clayton. Full disclosure, folks, I have a relationship with him from the Economic Club of New York, the former head of the SEC, and now command performance here today. Is Jay Clayton, in all your experience, Myles Miller, qualified to handle this prosecution?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jay, I know him well. He's got a very crack team here at the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District. And he's really taken this case on and has been sort of very closely watching, all of the developments in it, because of course this case first went in 2020. But what I'll also say is it's important to note that this case was brought by Emile Beauvais, who's now an appeals court judge, but of course was on Trump's legal team. He was one of the people who first started investigating this and brought this case to life in 2020. So this really, this is a very involved case. He knows quite a lot about what's going on here. And, I've spent some time with him as recently as about 3 weeks ago. He is very concerned with the connection between the drugs there and the drugs that wind up here.